We are called for such a time as this.
The Unitas Distinguished Alumni Awards, established in 1994, bear witness to the faith and perseverance of Union alumni who exemplify the seminary's academic breadth, its diversity and inclusiveness, and the range of vocations its graduates follow.
When I first arrived at Union in September of 2001, many of us had just gotten ordained. We were very excited to engage social justice. And then September 11th happened. We gathered in this space, some weeping, some shocked, many of us unable to come to voice. I remember very vividly that Dr. James Cone and Dr. Larry Rasmussen and Nyla Rasmussen gathered as many of us as possible and invited us to sing. But how could we sing our song in such a strange new land? Those of us who had been newly minted as ordained ministers took up our collars, our robes, and our stoles, and got on the 19 train to head to Ground Zero. The gift of a theological education here at Union gave us the courage, the might, and the strength to minister in that time.
I came to Union 34 years ago as a young adult with a lot of questions. I was from an interfaith family. I was a feminist. I was a lesbian. And yet I felt deeply called to ordain ministry. And Union seemed like a place where I could sort it all out. You know, people ask me if I regret having not attended an Episcopal seminary. And I respond, are you kidding? I wouldn't have traded my Union education for any amount of Episcopal networking that I might have gained at one of the denominational seminaries. Oh, sure, it didn't help me when it came to that running for bishop stuff. In fact, this evening I've come to this conclusion that maybe the reason I have dementia is I bumped my head too many times on the stained glass ceiling. And I'm going to Facebook post that. I think what we all get when we come to Union is we understand why we are who we are and what we believe, and yet we learn to value what our brothers and sisters of other traditions believe. At Union, I learned how to think theologically and ethically, and to apply that thinking to both parish ministry and to public leadership. At Union, I learned the importance of inclusive language and how to adapt worship and music to speak of God beyond gender without losing the poetry. At Union, I daily read, marked, and inwardly digested the Bible and the New York Times, which has been a practice that has served me well in many years of preaching. And most importantly, following in the footsteps of the likes of Dietrich Bonhoeffer and Thich Nhat Hanh and William Stringfellow and Malcolm Boyd and Carter Hayward and so many others, at Union, I learned how to be an upstander rather than a bystander. I was diagnosed with early onset dementia. As the doctors say, probably frontal temporal degeneration, but they won't know that until I'm dead. And although I'm in the early stages of this disease, I made a decision to step away from my position as Dean of Trinity Cathedral. After getting past the initial shock and grief on Easter morning, I realized that I wanted to reframe this interruption in my life. And I wanted to transform it from an exile to an exodus, from a death sentence to a pilgrimage, from a funeral to a wedding banquet. I want to live what I've been preaching for over 30 years and what I learned here at Union, that out of pain comes joy, out of brokenness comes wholeness, and out of death comes new life.
Over the years, I learned to realize that Bob had his own internal set of criteria about any new project or learning. Is it new and different? Is it unique and creative? Is it risky? Yes, it had to be risky. Later he would add, did it deal with peace and justice issues that were global in nature? Over 3 decades, they focused on issues of peace and justice, on educational innovations through case studies, developed a whole new curriculum in peacemaking and conflict resolution, and provided immersion experiences all over the world for hundreds of individuals and institutions, which changed those participants' lives and shaped institutions.
I am positively thrilled and very much sustained by Union's continuing witness to progressive Christianity. To be able to walk in the light shining here at Union and in the prophetic witness of those of you gathered here fills me with such hope in these uncertain days. Thank you all for letting your light shine.